we got to air it out. Let's air it out. So we got to air it out. Let's air it out. So
how do you say that? Air it out. Air it out.
Air it out.
That's right, guys. It is Air It Out Podcast. It's time to air it out, boys. I'm your humble host, Jerome Jones, and we got my man, Avery Collins, right over here. Avery Collins, how you doing today, sir?
What up, what up? Chilling, man.
And we got
football back, baby.
Yes, sir. Oh, my God. Yes. Yes. And we got my guy down here. Hello, stranger, Mr. Darius. How you doing, sir?
Like Avery said, man, we got football tonight. I mean, I know it's preseason, it's week 2, but it's good to have some football back. This is a time where you're going to see a lot of those second, third string guys really have to fight to make a roster spot, especially because it's only 3 weeks, only 3 games. So I'm excited for tonight, especially because we go against them Eagles. So,
oh yeah,
you know, I've been keeping up with the reports, man. I've been hearing a lot of chatter and all that. So we're gonna see what happens tonight. We're gonna see what happens, man.
You know, the funny thing is that I've been hearing mixed reviews. I the first couple of days of practice, it seemed like the Eagles were dominating. And then the last couple of days, it's like, the Patriots been dominating. I'm like, we might have a game tonight then. Because like you said, there has been chatter, people talking trash to Cam Newton. I was like, you know how Cam Newton is. He's not going to just lie down and let you talk. Like, he's going to chat back. So I'm definitely excited to see how this game goes, man. It's going to be fun to see, for sure. For sure. Speaking of that, man, we're going to talk about some of that a little bit later. We're going to talk about some comeback players. But right now, we got to talk about the money men of the NFL. And that will be Jamal Adams and Darius Leonard. Just hit a payday the last week and a half since we've been on, guys. I want to know you guys' opinions on these guys. Younger guys, very productive guys. Got paid. I wanted to know what's your thoughts on them being paid. Should it be the highest paid guys? Do they deserve the money? Do you think that maybe they should have, been got more? I want to hear your opinion. I'm sorry with you, Derek. What do you think about these guys getting paid?
Well, for Jamal Adams, I think whenever a team gives up multiple first-round picks, in your mind, you're definitely going to try to re-sign a player of his caliber, right? You give up 2 first-round picks. In your mind, you're like, okay, we gotta extend them. We're not just gonna give up these multiple picks and we're not gonna re-sign them. Now, granted, Seattle's a team that's always gonna be a playoff team, no matter if Jamal Adams is there. So, giving up first-round picks, they're gonna be picking in the later half of the first round. So, it's not really much that they felt like it's not gonna be players of his caliber there. So, I can understand why they gave up those picks. But like I said, you give up that many, you want to re-sign a guy like Jamal Adams. Now, is he worth being paid the highest paid safety? It's very controversial. There's people that say he deserves all the money. He's this. Then you have people that are like, well, he's not really a good cover safety. He's more of a box in the box type safety. He's a really good tackler, but when it comes down to covering in the slot and tight ends, he's not that good. But I think he's going to have to prove himself this year, especially when you sign a big contract like that. You got to go out there and prove like, hey, I'm deserving of being the highest paid safety, especially when you have guys like Justin Simmons in Denver who deserves to be making that top dollar, who's proven himself out there like, hey, I can do it all. I can cover. I can play in backfield. Guys like Devin McCourty, he's up there in age, but he's been maybe the most consistent safeties in the NFL. So when it comes down to aspect, it's really there. Darius Leonard, a guy who's been putting up over 100+ tackles since he's been in the league, arguably one of the best linebackers in the game. He signed his contract right after Fred Warner, which I thought was very interesting. His agent probably said, let's wait to see what he's going to do. He did that, and he signed. And I think that it was one of those games like cat and mouse. Like, let's see what Fred Warner does. We're going to reset the market. And I love when you see that. A guy signs, right? He's the highest paid player at that position. And then probably a couple of days later, somebody else is the highest paid player. So respect to Darius Leonard, definitely well-deserved. Jamal Adams, I think he still has to prove himself as far as all-around safety, in my opinion. But, man, listen, I'm about to send him my cash out because I can hold a little something. It ain't going to hurt them.
Definitely. As always, you guys, if you already know, if you are live right now, you can interact with us live on YouTube, on Facebook, or on Twitter. Just go in there and put your chat in there. We will live react to all your chats or comments that you have. Every single one of you guys. We don't leave nobody out. And our first guy is Mr. Chris Thomas. What's going on, Chris? He says Darius Leonard deserves it, and Jamal Adams doesn't, in his opinion. And he also is asking whose dog is barking in the background, because I was thinking about that too.
My bad, that's my dog. Sorry, guys.
Hey man, bring him on. Let him be our mascot of the day, man, for sure. But Avery, what's your opinion on this whole situation? Do you agree with Chris?
So I'm gonna start with Darius Leonard. He deserves every single penny. I think Darius hit the nail on the head. Since he's coming to the league, he's been literally lights out. Let's give a shout out to HBCU alum as well. He's from an HBCU. So for all those players out there who don't think that you can make it to the NFL if you go to an HBCU, it's completely false. It's a false narrative. Don't let anybody tell you if you can ball, they'll find you. It's as simple as that. If you can ball, they'll find you. The question is, can you ball, and are you willing to put in the work to get to where you want to go? So and I love the fact that, kind of a sidebar to that Deion Sanders wanted to coach at an HBCU instead of a Power 5 school or anything like that when he had offers to do so. Because again, we got to change the narrative. So shout out to Darius Leonard, again HBCU alum, and so I'm glad that he got paid. He deserved every single penny, and it's not just because of that. It's because of the fact that he literally has been producing since he's gotten on the field. He's one of the faster linebackers in the league. He can run sideline to sideline. He makes all the tackles. He's not afraid to go in and bang on goal line as well. He's one of those linebackers that doesn't come off the field, right? He doesn't come up the field on third, fourth down, short yardage. He's on the field every single down when he's healthy. So shout out to him. He's the staple of that defense. I think they did right by him. So shout out to Darius Leonard. Jamal Adams is a glorified linebacker. Let's just call it what it is. He's not your prototypical safety. Now, if he's listed as a strong safety, they typically play more in the box, which I'm okay with. But for people to say he's one of the best safeties in the league, I have an issue with that. Just because of how, even with strong safeties, you look at strong safeties like a Cam Chancellor and different things like that, they could actually cover still, right? Keanu Neal can actually cover still. I'm not saying that they're the best in coverage, but they can actually cover still. And so for me, I look at it from a standpoint of them needing to maybe redefine the position or redefine the expectation of the position. Because for me, the safety has to cover as well. And so that's my biggest issue. I think he has less than 5 career interceptions. For a safety, again, who's quote unquote supposed to be able to cover and play on the back end as well, that's not good enough for me. I do think he's deserved to get paid. And let me make that very, very clear. Jamal Adams deserves to get paid. He does not deserve to be the highest paid safety because I don't think that he is, again, to me, with the prototypical safety. However, for what Seattle wants, he's the best in the league. For what they want from him, he's the best in the league at that. So I'll give him that, and he's a very, 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 very solid player. He's a staple to that defense. So we can't take anything away from him. So when I say this, I don't want anybody, you're hating on the guy. No, Jamal Adams deserves to get paid. I don't think he deserves to be the highest paid safety. I think there needs to be some. It's a gray area when it comes to a player like him. Jabril Pepper still plays back deep. Tyrann Mathieu, who, again, these are guys who like to play in the box, but they still can cover. And so for me, that's my only gripe. But shout out to both of the players getting paid.
Before you go, Darius, I do want to give that shout out to Darius Leonard. Like Avery said, the HBCU school. Not only that he was an HBCU school from South Carolina State, but he was a second rounder from that school, and that's not heard of that very often. So shout out to him. Shout out to being a baller at a smaller school and an HBCU school at that. Darius, did you want to say something?
I will say this. I saw something on social media about Avery bringing up Tyrann Mathieu. It's time for him, I think, to get paid. I think he's the next guy to get extended. And what I like what the NFL is doing, it's a trend. if they're locking their young guys up when they have 1 or 2 years left on their contract, so that's something they don't have to worry about years to come. You look at Josh Allen; he still had like a year, I believe, left on his contract. You lock him up now so you can focus on your other players. Patrick Mahomes was probably the biggest one that they did when he signed that huge contract, and now you see a trend. Guys like Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, these guys are next who are going to get extended. They're still on their rookie contract, so you get these guys locked up now. You don't have to worry about it. Now you can spend your money elsewhere and help them and surround them with talent either on the offensive side of the ball or on the defense side of the ball.
Definitely agree with that. All right, let's get to our next topic because, each year we're always looking for that guy that might have shown some flashes in the past or was really good and kind of fell off. And we're talking about comeback players of 2021. Before we even continue, Chris says, facts, Honey Badger, Simmons, and Bates from Cincinnati deserve an honor.
Especially Bates.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Simmons got paid.
He did. But
Simmons got paid, but again, we talk about highest paid.
Yeah.
Again, a guy to be that young and that talented and just like really getting into, like, let's think about it. I don't think he's in his 5th year yet. I think he's going into year 4.
Yeah, Jamal Adams, right?
Simmons.
Oh, Simmons? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think he's going into year 4, maybe year 5. I mean, to be that young, to be that good, and like again, to be versatile. It's not just Jamal to me is a one-trick pony. He does one thing well. He plays in the box well. Like to me, that's not deserving of highest paid. You look at somebody like Derwin James, who again, he hasn't been on the field, but he can do everything. He can play in the box.
Yeah.
He can cover. Justin Simmons can play in the box. He can cover. You look at Isaiah Simmons toward the end of the last year in Arizona and how he started to finally figure out how to play that safety position and really get busy. Now they're moving him to linebacker, but he started figuring the things out and how to play in the box and cover. To me, again, for me, just the highest paid thing is probably my biggest gripe. Outside of the fact that again he's considered a strong safety. Safety means safety net. You're the safety net. You're the safety net to the defense, which means you need to be able to cover on the back end. And I'm not saying that he can't. He has shown that he can, and that's my issue.
Definitely. Fun fact: Justin Simmons is going to his 6th year, actually.
Wow,
I've been only that long.
It's been that long.
That long.
2016, he got drafted.
Woo.
Yeah, man.
Well, I'm old.
Yeah, you're getting old, man. You're getting old. I'm getting younger. You're getting older.
That's it. Hey, listen, you got that Benjamin Button. I got that Benjamin
Button. Chris says Isaiah Simmons needs to stay at linebacker. His skill set is better than playing at safety. I don't know, man. With him, he can do it all. So I would just move him around, to be honest. But that's just me.
I would say, just real quick on that, I would say in the right system, I would agree with you, Chris. I don't think that the Cardinals run the right system for that. Now, we're seeing maybe a difference in because you're going to bring in somebody who's like J.J. Watt who can stop the run. You bring in so maybe, and if they keep Chandler Jones and all those different things, so maybe it can work out, but he's one of those flowing linebackers. For me, he needs to be in a team that knows how to flow, that moves swiftly. Atlanta is a place that has flowing linebackers. The Seahawks have that flowing linebackers. I think he would succeed more in those type of systems. Dallas has a system where they're flowing. I think he would succeed more in those systems. But I think in Arizona, I think again, what I saw last year from him playing the safety position when it started to make sense to him, I was like, okay, yeah, if he can continue that trajectory, he's going to be phenomenal.
I agree. All right. Isaiah Simmons is a great player. He's not a comeback player, bro. So we're going to talk about comeback players today. Avery, let me hear who you got for your comeback player of 2021. Who's coming back? Who's going to come back strong and better than ever?
Man, it's tough. Obviously, I think number one for everybody should be the same. And for me, I'm going to start there. I'm going to start with Odell Beckham. I think Odell Beckham is going to bounce back. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. He's going to prove himself to be one of the premier receivers in the NFL. I have a hard time dropping him out of my top 3. I know he was injured last year, and I know the year prior, him and Baker didn't have all the greatest chemistry and all those different things, but he still put up numbers even with that. And so now you give him a full offseason to rest up, to build up some chemistry. Reports are coming out of the camp with the Browns that on the sideline, him and Baker have just been working. He hasn't been clear for full contact, so they've just been working on chemistry, getting that timing down. That, to me, again, those reps, we're going to see that translate on the field without question. As a former receiver, quarterback, and corner, I know how that can translate on the field. So Odell is number one for me. And number two, I'm going to say, and it's going to be weird because he played for the most part of the year, but I'm going to say Julio. I think with his injuries that kind of hampered him, he still played pretty well. He was still very productive when he was on the field, but his production actually obviously dropped because of the injuries. I think with the fact that he's going to have Derrick Henry, he's going to have A.J. Brown, and they're going to run the ball a little bit more, I think, me personally, that is actually going to extend his career a little bit longer. He won't have to run and be counted on as much to be the number one guy. They're going to lean on Derrick Henry more so. So I think it could help him stay healthier longer. So that's number two. And then he just took my number three. I was going to say he just took my number three, which was Derwin James. I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to take all the players, but Derwin James.
Definitely. All right, Darius, who you got as your come-up player for 2021?
I agree with the Derwin James. I think he's a guy who has been hampered by injuries, but we know when he's on the field, he's probably one of the best safeties in the league, right? This guy can do it all. So I would love to see him actually be on the field, and he's going to change that whole Chargers defense, especially when you think of what they have up front. Another guy, Odell Beckham Jr. This is a guy who I think a lot of people forget about Odell as a top 5 or possibly top 3 wide receiver when healthy. And Avery, you said something that I believe we talked about a few weeks ago. When he came with Baker, they had chemistry issues, but the guy still put up 1,000 yards. So this is a guy who is arguably could still put up numbers, who's electric when he has the ball in his hand. It's just really him getting on the field. So I think him. Another guy, and I think it's just because of I was watching Hard Knocks. I think he's my number one guy. I think Dak, right? I think Dak last year, I think his injury, we saw what he did before the injury, right? Dak going into a contract year, putting up numbers. I mean, the projections that he was going to have was out of this world, and then he goes down with the injury. I think he's going to come in with this mindset that, hey, I got to kind of prove myself again to everybody. And I think I don't know if you guys watch Hard Knocks, but it's kind of giving me a little bit more respect towards him and just his mindset of the game and how much he loves the game and how much he's willing to give it to the game. So I think he's going to go in there. But for me, it's 1A, Dak, 1B, Odell. I think these guys are going to kind of just go neck and neck. And then a wild card, I think Christian McCaffrey, I think he's kind of forbidden hurts just because it's a guy who's put up 1,000 in last season, again, hampered by injuries, really didn't see the field. But when he did see the field, he produced. So I think he's another guy who you gotta keep your eye out for because he's dynamic, especially in that Carolina offense. It doesn't matter who's the quarterback; he's gonna get his carries and he's gonna get his receptions.
I think the thing with Chris McCaffrey is funny because everybody and their mom, I'm sure, drafted him number 1 overall last year, and he got injured, and so I see all these mock drafts where a lot of people still have him at number 1 overall for this year. So people
are
hoping he has a comeback year for sure. It looked like you had something else to say real quick.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with Dak and Christian McCaffrey. I just wanted to kind of throw in 2 things. One, I want to go back to Odell. The reason I think that Odell is going to have such a great year, outside of the reasons I said before, I'm watching his technique. Now, I'm going into my coach bag, my trainer bag here. So I'm not expecting everybody. But if you watch Odell's technique, how he's moving, not just the fact that he's moving, but he's moving well. I'm noticing little things in how he cuts, different things. I'm like, that's not somebody who's coming off of it. I'm looking at him like, because and the reason I say this is because I've seen other players go through this injury and look timid. He looks absolutely fluid out there. He looks phenomenal. And then I'll just throw in Saquon Barkley. I think the same thing with him. The only reason I didn't include him in my top 3, I would probably say top 5, maybe 5. The only reason is because the questions with the offensive line still are lingering. And because of that, I just can't say that, I'm going to say, oh, he's going to be out here. I felt George Kittle as well, but honestly, I don't feel like George Kittle fell off. I think because he got injured toward the end of the season, number one. Number two, the 49ers were hurt so bad, I don't think he would have made they had a terrible injury list last year. I don't think they were not doing anything last year, whether George Kittle was on the field or not. They were
very Eagles-like.
Yeah. Like the 49ers and the Eagles, take your pick as far as who you want to say was the most injury-riddled team. And it's just, I don't think – again, George didn't fall off. I think it was a situation where, honestly, I think he could have came back earlier, but the team realized we're not doing nothing.
No need to play him.
Just go ahead and chill, bro. But yeah, I'll throw, like I said, the only reason I didn't move Saquon up is because of those concerns.
Definitely. I'm gonna give you my guys. I got two guys that I want to put in there. Before I do that, Chuck Thomas. What's up, Chuck? Thanks for being on. He says Saquon, B. Barkley definitely, and Christian McCaffrey definitely top two. Like I said, I always like to be the oddball and say something that everybody is just not really thinking about. So I got two guys. One, Darius, you might like this one. A guy that your New England Patriots just picked up. I think he's a guy that had very good production, but he's been very injury riddled. So since you got two tight ends now, I think it's gonna be Derek. I'm about to say Derek Henry. Hunter Henry. I think he's gonna have a bounce back year. He don't have to be the guy now. There's a guy right behind him. What's his name from Tennessee?
Gianno Smith.
A guy that I love, Gianno Smith, man. I always try to get him in fantasy every year. I think he's gonna have a good one, but the way the New England plays their tight ends, they're not gonna be tight. It's not gonna really be tight end 1 and tight end 2. They're more gonna be like tight end A and tight end B, or 1B and 1A kind of thing. I think they're gonna be he's gonna have some good targets. Chuck laughing at me and said, "If Mac is quarterback."
Cam.
Don't do Cam like that.
Yes.
Cam loves his tight ends.
Two things.
Cam like that, Chuck.
Cam loves his tight ends.
Two things about that, especially for you, Chuck. Think about this. One, it's Cam Newton. He likes his tight ends, like Darius is saying. And two, if Mac does play, tight ends are usually the number one target for young quarterbacks. So
safety blanket. Yep.
So I think they're still gonna have production. I like Hunter Henry. He's a guy that a lot of people forgot about because of the injuries, especially the last 2 years. But before that, he was very productive. So I'm gonna put him in there. And two, my other guy is a guy that is on Darius' second favorite team. A guy that got injured last year, and I really don't hear nobody really talking about this guy. But he got some other weapons around him, so he won't have to be number one wide receiver anymore. And I'm talking about Courtland Sutton. The kid looked really good before he got injured. He got injured last year. I had high praise for him and high hopes for him last year. I think it's gonna be even better this year because now he got Jerry Jeudy to help him out. Not only Jerry Jeudy, he got Cam Handler. They got weapons.
KJ.
Yes, I know. I'm talking about a lot of guys that are relying on quarterbacks that not as reliable, but these guys can still have production with those kind of quarterbacks. I mean, they're not Allen Robinson, but look at Allen Robinson. With his quarterback situations the last couple of years, and he's always been productive. So I think these guys can still be productive even with their less luxurious quarterbacks. So Chuck says Cam does like tight ends. OBJ. Stafford is definitely a good one. I like that one. Chris Thomas said, not with those quarterbacks. I just explained that. So we'll see. Jimmy G has the most pressure on him because Trey Lance, and he has his tail could be.
Nah, I don't think so.
He could be on his.
I don't think so.
I think Cam has the most pressure, man.
Who?
Cam Newton.
I think
the reason I say that is I think he's on the shortest leash, right? Like last year, he wasn't playing well, he got pulled already. He's gotten pulled, and it wasn't Mac Jones behind him. So you're seeing it like I think he has the most pressure on him. Jimmy G, they've kind of like, yo, if Jimmy's healthy, he's going to play, right?
Jimmy's not a bad quarterback. I think it was just the injuries, right? Like that was the biggest thing with him. Yeah. You saw the year that they went to the Super Bowl healthy, and look what he did. You know, I agree with you, Cam. Like I'm reading the Patriots stuff. Cam has a lot of pressure, right? The whole excuse last year, no training camp. He has training camp. No, it was a lot of excuses. No weapons. You got weapons. Now you simply just have to perform. And if Mac Jones is going to keep outperforming you.
I agree. I said this last week.
Starfields. I don't know about Lance yet.
I've been seeing what Trey Lance been doing in training camp. He's one of the guys that I've been like really keeping an eye on. He looked good in that preseason game, man. He's definitely putting some pressure on Jimmy G. Even though, like I said last week, they giving Jimmy G all the praise in the world, but that kid is giving him some pressure. Chuck says, "What about AB? He has been best wide receiver at camp." I agree with that, but there's a lot of mouths to feed there too. So
that's good though. I like that only because Tom Brady does like his check down guys. We're not sure about Scotty just yet. Like, is he going to be that? Yeah, is he going to be that in like the short route? Because he's a speedster, so it looks like he's going to use him as the decoy running down the field. So, and because Tom Brady loves those guys who can run in the slot, that's one of the reasons Chris Godwin's targets and numbers went down. So he's got his outside guy already, and Mike Evans. That's a good point, Chuck. I think AB could definitely stand out and potentially get back into the top 15, top 10 category.
Definitely. Jillian Darwin remind me that name. Remember that name? Yes, from North Texas, if I'm not mistaken. He was one of the guys that I liked in the draft a lot. Like a lot of people was not, talking about. So yeah, I definitely agree with you with that one, Chuck, for sure. We're talking about all this preseason and training camp stuff, man. So let's just do the review. Let's just get the review out right now. So we already, we do our podcast on Thursday. So, we're always kind of almost a full week behind. So, which is a good thing because we get to talk about, what happened all of last week. So preseason week 1 games went on already. So let's do some previews of give me a game that you were excited to see, or maybe a player that surprised you during these games, and let's do a little preview of some of the games that's coming on tonight and the rest of the weekend. So Darius, I'm sorry with you. What is a game or a player that impressed you?
Because I really liked them coming out of college, and I really was hoping that we get them. But I was really, really excited for Justin Fields, right? Like I kind of knew what I was getting out of Mac Jones with the scouting reports and how accurate he is, and if you give him a great offensive line and a good running game and some weapons, he's gonna do some play. And he did pretty well. I think he did pretty well week 1. But a guy who I'm really looked out for, a guy who I really was like really excited for, and I was watching his highlights, was Justin Fields. I really wanted to see how he was gonna come out there and perform. Now, the only thing Justin Fields has to do, right? All he has to do is just play smart football. Don't turn the ball over. You have a phenomenal wide receiver in Allen Robinson, and your defense is going to keep you in games every single week because that's what they do. Like, right? This is a team that went to the playoffs, and they didn't even have a great starting quarterback. So now you get in a guy like Justin Fields who just make the right throws. You got Allen Robinson. The defense is going to keep you in the games. And I was impressed on how he performed week 1. Again, it's 1 week, but I think going into week 2, he gets a little bit more time with the starters. He gets more reps. I'm really looking forward, but he was a guy who I was really, really excited to see outside of Mac Jones. Like I said, I knew what I was kind of getting with Mac Jones, and I'm very impressed. Going into week 2, be a homer, I want to see how Mac Jones does, right? I want him to get a little bit more reps with the first team, and I want him to go up against that Eagles front 4, right? Because one thing about the Eagles, nobody, what you said, their defensive line is probably the focal point of that defense. So I really want to see how he handles going up against a guy like Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham and different things like that, especially because in practice they put these scenarios in, but now you're real life. These guys are actually coming after you, and he has a knee brace on. Is it an injury? So there's so many question marks surrounding that. So that's a guy I'm really looking forward to see how he performs, especially because He's supposed to be the replacement of Tom Brady, who obviously we know what Tom Brady did in his 20 years in New England. So we'll see how he performs tonight.
Definitely. All right, what about you, Avery?
Man, I mean, all right. So as far as games, it's definitely going to be interesting to watch a couple. Eagles Patriots tonight is definitely going to be something to look forward to, obviously. But one I'm actually looking forward to seeing is Raiders Rams. The reason is because reports are coming out from camp that Hunter Renfrow been getting busy on Jalen Ramsey. Now I don't know how true this is, but I know for a lot of premier corners, the receivers that give them the most trouble are those receivers who are very deceptive with their route running, right? I've told people all the time, if you look at Richard Sherman, there's one receiver who always gave him fits outside of Julio Jones, and his name is Deshaun Jackson. He's so deceptive with his route running, he always gave Richard Sherman fits. Hunter Renfrow he's not obviously Deshaun Jackson, but he's extremely deceptive with his route running. I think he's one of the top tier route runners in the league. That's just my personal opinion. He's got great hands as well. It's a very, very solid receiver. So I'm interested to see that if they're going to match up. Is this true?
Before you continue, because I want to get this point out. As a former cornerback myself, and being a taller cornerback, like Jalen Ramsey, I think he's 6'2", if I'm not mistaken. Smaller guy. I always have problems with the shorter, quick, route runners. They always get like, you be like, oh man, this guy's fast. Like, well, there's technique for that. There's you could use strength on that, things like that.
Exactly.
But when it comes to like the short, smaller guys and they got good route running, it's so hard to put your hands on them. So for me personally, I could definitely see, especially with Hunter Renfrow, like watching him, especially when he went to Clemson, the kid is a route running master, and I knew he was gonna stay. Like I knew he wasn't ever gonna be a number one receiver, but I always knew that he's gonna be one of the receivers that always gonna be in the league because he is very, very sound at his route running. I'm sorry for cutting you off, Avery, but I just wanted to.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, and I can somewhat attest to that. I'm not a short corner, but I'm not a tall corner either. I'm like right in the middle, around that 6 foot mark. Not so I've always been able to fare decent when it comes to the shorter, quicker guys. But they definitely, without question, give you the most problems. I don't care if you're a tall corner, short corner. They give you the most problems. The shorter receivers who can move, they're just tough. Like you said, it's tough to get your hands on them. It's tough to, and they're very deceptive in their route running because they're not. With a taller receiver, you can almost tell it when they drop their hips. You know the break is coming. A shorter receiver, he's already low to the ground. He's like, whoa. Whoa! Whoa! All right, cool. But so yeah. So anyway, back to standout players. I'm going to agree here with Chris again on the show. This is something new. Anyway, Quez Watkins, that dude. Listen, okay, that he can move. All right, that man can move. I was very, very impressed with him watching him, and I was like, I think the biggest thing I was impressed with outside of his speed and everything like that was his confidence. He didn't look afraid out there. He looked extremely comfortable. He looked exactly like he knew exactly what he was doing. He looked like he had a grasp of the playbook. And he looked like, I'm here to play. I don't know about y'all, but I'm here to make the roster. And not just make the roster, I'm going to get on the field in the regular season. That's when he looked like he was trying to, like, JJ, you might want, or take a wide side, you might want, watch your back. Because I'm just saying, that boy Quez, he was out here. And I think, honestly, me personally, now I'm not a huge, over rookies over vets, but I personally might have to put Quez even on the depth chart over Greg Ward. That's just me though. But anyway, so that's him. And then the last player, I got to be a homer. Dorian Etheridge from the Atlanta Falcons, linebacker, had 13 tackles, 3 for loss in their game, in their first game this preseason. Listen,
there he is.
JC's not a number one corner. I've been said this. But
well, JC definitely was balling in that first game though, so we can't. I will not take that away from him. Anyway, Yeah, he's been extremely. Dorian Etheridge played extremely well. 13 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. Jalen Watkins played extremely well as well. But Dorian Etheridge was all over the field. You could not stop calling this dude's name. You're like, golly, he just keeps making plays, and he was phenomenal. Another guy that I think is standing out, again, Homer, Calvin Ridley. I'm seeing that he is literally taking this number one wide receiver thing to heart. He's like, he's been poo-pooing on Xavier Howard, who's one of the premier corners in the league, who just got paid, who just got everything he wanted, and I'm not talking about he ran a route on him. He just ran past him. He just cooked him. So there's that. And then last but not least, Patrick Surtain. I've been telling people for a long everybody, J.C. Horn, and I'm like, I get it and I understand it. And from a potential standpoint, I still have J.C. Horn over Patrick Surtain. However, from a technique standpoint, Patrick Surtain's technique is so sound. He's so good. And we saw in his first preseason game, pick 6. In a play prior to that, they tried to run a quick in on him. He broke on the ball, deflected it. Then they tried to run a quick out, and he was like, y'all gonna give me the same type look? Well, I'm going to take this to the crib. Y'all playing. Stop messing with this dude. He's not. Patrick Surtain has really been really been doing this thing. So, me personally, I think that Patrick Surtain is going to make a mark and have some contention for top 10 corner in this league. Like he was really he's been that good. So
definitely. To get on your point with Surtain, it's funny that you're saying that because we literally were just talking about that exact thing, exactly what you just said. We said that on the RPO podcast last night. So shout out to Avery. I don't know if he was watching, but you said almost word for word what I said on the RPO podcast last night. So if you haven't been watching the RPO podcast, make sure you check it out on Wednesday night. I had to put that plug out there. Another guy I wanted to mention from your team, Avery. I don't know if you've been watching, but a guy that we interviewed, Jalen Hawkins. He looked like he's ready to start. He's ready to be a starter. Last year, you can see glimpses of it here and there, and it was very inconsistent. He's putting it all together this year. So shout out to Jalen Hawkins, a fan of the Air Park. The Inside the Hatches, a guy that we contact on very very often. Great guy. He looked like he's ready to start. So I like what he's been doing in preseason, and
that was my biggest concern was our back end. No more Keanu O'Neal, no more Ricardo Allen, no more geez, I just lost his name.
Oliver?
No, the other safety we had Keanu O'Neal, Ricardo Allen, and jeez Louise.
It's all good.
27. DeMonte Casey. There we go.
There you go. Casey. Yeah.
All gone. So I'm like, we're going to be extremely young on his back end. And Jalen, like I said, I had to point out Dorian Etheridge because he was balling. But Jalen Hawkins, that's why I threw his name in there as well, because he was out there flying around and bumping people. Like, he wasn't afraid. Like, I was like, okay, Jalen, if that's how we're going to rock, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this.
Definitely. And I got a guy I wanted to mention in the preseason, another Inside the Hatches guy. I'm telling you guys, by the time you got the end of the season, I'm going to make his name a household name. I'm telling you, because I'm mad that he didn't get drafted. But my man, Jared Patterson from Washington had, I think, 80 yards total, and that was leading the team. He looked really good. He's definitely going to make the team. He's going to be eventually. He's probably going to start trying to press for a lot of playing times. He's starting this year. So if you haven't heard about Jared Patterson before, check him out. Check him out in college too, because the guy was a record-breaking running back, and he had great balance, really strong. He's showing all that in the NFL now. Avery, you want to say something?
I was just going to say, yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head with that one. You've been screaming his name since pre-draft. Like, you've been screaming his name. Another guy though that I would point out he stood out to me. Chubb Hub, baby.
Oh yeah,
Chubb Hub was balling, baby.
Chubb Hubbard.
Chubb Hubbard.
Yeah,
he was balling, baby.
And Avery, it's funny how you said that because actually I was gonna talk about that game. That game was the funniest game for me to watch. It was, and not only because the reason I said I think a couple of weeks ago about the my hot take about this team and their depth and all that, but the Colts too. It was fun watching the Colts players. Like they have great depth as well, and not only the quarterbacks look really. I'm not going to say great, but they look good. Like they look like they was like ready for the action. A lot of people wasn't too high on
Jacob Eason.
Jason Eason.
Jacob.
He played very well, as well as a guy that I wasn't really high on, Sam Ellinger. He had a great game too. So that game was the funnest game for me watching that. PJ Walker looked great. As Chris is saying, PJ Walker over Sam Donald.
He's coming for that starting job.
That's not gonna happen.
He's coming from that starting job.
He's
coming for that starting job.
At least this year, it's not gonna happen. I'm gonna say that. But he is a Temple guy. You already know where his coach come from Temple. He looked good. It's preseason. So let's pump the brakes just a little bit.
Listen, he might start.
PJ Walker definitely looked really good, and that game was so entertaining. Like I said, there's a lot of young talent between both of these teams, and the Panthers got two really good receivers out of this. I mean, obviously, the receiver from LSU,
Terrence Marshall Jr.
He looked amazing, but
I
totally forgot they got Shy Smith. That kid looked good too. So like, the depth on both teams is really, really outstanding. Two teams that I would tell everybody, the record might not 100% show it this year, but there are two teams that you definitely need to keep your eyes on because they're great.
You either team, whether Carson is starting or PJ is starting, you don't want to match up against those. They're what John Gruden said about the Falcons last year. When we were 0-5, he's like, that's the best 0-5 football team I've ever seen. He's like, you don't go into this game thinking, okay, we're just going to – I think that's going to be the Colts obviously the Colts, their defense is still phenomenal. But I definitely believe that the Panthers are going to be on that level where it's just like, you go ahead and think that you're going to go in there and waltz right over them jokers if you want, and you won't be pushing them out.
100%. So the game that I would like to see this week would be the Chargers and the 49ers for a lot of the same reasons I was talking about last week. I think the Chargers starter should be playing this week because I don't think they played at all last week. So I'm excited to see that. I'm gonna see a little bit of Justin Herbert. I'm gonna see how that looks. And obviously, I want more Trey Lance, man. I want more Trey Lance. Trey Lance is my favorite quarterback going into this preseason because, I keep watching him, and there's not a lot of guys I'm like really eyeing as far as quarterbacks in preseason. Obviously, Trey Lance and Justin Fields are the main two for myself, but it's something about Trey Lance. He got that it thing right now, and it just looked confident. It looked like he has all the tools that he needs. And there was a lot of my concern with him going into the draft process because he's coming from a smaller school. He had that bad last game, and he didn't play all last year, so I was concerned how he was going to be. But he looking like the kid that might have been the second quarterback coming off the board before this whole process started, and and everything from that happened last year. So I'm very, very excited about Trey Lance, man. Very, very excited to see him play somewhere. So, all right. Anybody want some last quick hot takes first? Hot take Thursday. Come on, Darius. You was in here last week. You gotta have something up your sleeves.
Nah, I'm gonna save him for the regular season.
Okay.
I'm gonna save it for it's preseason. I will say this. I think tonight's game, Patriots Eagles game, is going to be. I don't know if it's really a hot take. I think it's going to be a high scoring affair. I think it's going to be a little bit of a back and forth, kind of like the Super Bowl in a way. One team scores, the other team scores, and it comes down to what defense can make that play. So that's what we want to consider a hot take. That's my hot take, I guess.
Okay. Avery, you got something?
I'll give one. So this guy gets a lot of scrutiny, a lot of hate. A lot of people call him a fraud. A lot of people call him overrated, all of those different things. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. He's not the problem. So I'm going to talk about my QB for a second here. And I believe Matthew Ryan will finish no less than third in MVP voting this year. I say that because there is no more Julio Jones. People can no longer say, oh, well, you got Julio. You've got a young tight end in Kyle Pitts who, yeah, he's good, but he's still a young tight end. We got to see if he can play in the NFL against these NFL linebacker safeties, if he can, bump against these NFL DNs, all those different things. Can Calvin really, in fact, be a number one receiver? So he doesn't have that Julio Jones that, that's the guy anymore. But with that being said, I believe Matt Ryan finishes no less than third in MVP voting this year. I believe he puts up MVP type numbers and puts the league back on notice that Matty Ice is still Matty Ice.
Okay. Oh, nice. We got Facebook user Johnny Dean said, "Did you see the Super Bowl?" Yes, we all seen the Super Bowl.
Yep, I saw that Super Bowl. If you go back and listen to previous Air It Out podcasts, I've already gave my rundown on that.
Okay, all right, definitely. And he said sleeper pick is Matthew Stafford. I think we actually said something like that last week, Johnny. So thank you for being on, though, Johnny Dean. We do appreciate you being on. Definitely. Make sure you check us out. We always on at 6:00 on Thursdays. So, and that goes for everybody. Definitely check us out every Thursday at 6:00. As we wrap this up today, thank you guys for checking us out, man. We do appreciate everybody that's in our chat room. Make sure you, like I said, check us out live on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. But if you can't watch it live, that's fine, Or if you miss us live most of the time, you go on YouTube, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. You don't have to, remember over 6:00, things like that. Real quick. I was responding to the comment about high scoring back and forth. Definitely on that. Hot take: Aaron Jones will lead all running backs in touchdowns.
I like that, Chris.
Okay.
I like that, Chris.
I like it too.
It's pretty hot. That's pretty mild.
Right, that is pretty hot. Whoa. And physically, you say later, Jerome. Later, guy. I appreciate you being on, Johnny, for sure. But like I said, if you want to watch us live and you want your comments to be, put your comments on there and we respond live to them. We will do that when we are live. So if you want to know if we're live, go on YouTube, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, notification bell, and you can know when we're live. But if you can't go live, you can watch our previous podcasts on our YouTube channel. Put a comment underneath. We will respond to it as quickly as possible. And if you have any hot takes, if you have any comments, if you want to say something that we say, if you think we're terrible at our jobs, let us know. Yeah, all that helps. So let us know. So you can put that on our YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Hatches. Also, make sure you check us out on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Inside the Hatches, InsideTheHatches.com. We've had all our content all on there. We're about to have a fancy draft, so make sure you go in there and check that out because my two guys, we all in it this year. We're all in it. I'm in it too, guys. So we're going to see who's going to win on this, man. The trash talk is going to start. Trust me. The trash talk
I'm being humble.
So make sure you pick it up.
That's
going to be, and our selection shows is going to be Sunday. So if you want to see who get this spots on there, you could go in there and check that out. Make sure my man putting the crown on his head already. Chill out. He didn't even draft his guys, and he's already putting the crown on his head. And also make sure you check us out on our podcast platforms because a lot of guys that we're talking about that are in NFL that have a lot of preseason games, the guys that I'm telling you to check out, Jared Patterson. We interviewed these guys, so go check them out on all our podcast platforms on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, and on Anchor. You can go in there, search Inside the Hatches / the player's name, and you can find them on there and listen to the interview that we did on them. So with that being said, guys, again, we do appreciate all y'all coming in and checking us out. Good luck and have fun with all the preseason games all weekend. I do like how they spread it out now. That's so fun for me, at least. They used to have it one day and then you have to go watch all the highlights. I like how it's spread out. Even if you don't watch them all, you can see highlights throughout the whole weekend. That's pretty cool. I like that. But anyway, that's gonna do it for us today. Have fun. Be safe out there. I'm your host, Jerome Jones. We got A.B. Collins right here. We got Darius Riddick right down there. Thank you guys for checking us out. Have a good one. Stay safe. and we check you out next week. Peace.
Ryan for president.
Man.
Ryan for president.
No, stop.